Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, ma'am.
So, the weather is very pleasant today, isn't it?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so let us begin today's lesson. Before that, I will be showing you one video. Students, please look the video carefully.
Is there any audio in this, Monica?
No, ma'am, just a video. Okay, students. So, did you observe the video carefully?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Okay, so what did you observe?
Killing of animals.
Okay, yes. What else?
Exploitation of natural resources.
Yes, yes, Shalini, very good. And what else did you observe, students?
How human is creating problems in the environment.
Yes. And did you notice that for their own greed, how humans are harming plants and animals? Right, students?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So, what will happen if we continuously keep on using plants and animals for our indiscriminate greed?
It will extinct.
Extinction.
Yes, it will extinct. What effect it will have on our environment?
We will not be able to survive.
Yes, very good. The survival will be very difficult. We cannot imagine where plants and animals are not there, and our survival is also dependent on that. So, student, isn't it very important to save them and not use them indiscriminately for our greed?
Yes, ma'am.
So, what should we do to protect them?
No, we should conserve it.
Yes, very good. We should conserve them. So, students, what steps government has taken to conserve them?
Government has made laws, wildlife sanctuaries,
Yes, very
zoos.
good. Yes,
Some reserve wildlife reserves out.
yes, very good. So, government has taken several steps to protect wildlife. They have made certain laws. They have built national park, wildlife sanctuaries, and biosphere reserve. So, students, today we are going to study. 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 Today we are going to stu Biosphere Reserve. A biosphere reserve is a large protected area of land meant for conservation of wildlife, biodiversity, and traditional lifestyle of tribal people living in the area. So basically, a biosphere reserve is a very large protected area which is devoted for the conservation of wildlife, biodiversity, and traditional lifestyles of tribal people living in that area. So, students, tell me why tribal peoples are also included in Biosphere Reserve? Because when you visit zoo, you don't see tribal people living there. But here in Biosphere Reserve, tribal peoples are also included. Why so?
because they are the best protector of the land or the resources, and they are also in the vulnerable state.
Yes, very good. Since tribal people are the integral part of a society and they have been known to live in forests and protect them. So, Biosphere Reserve has given a importance to protect tribal lives also. And students, their life is also dependent on forests. They are mainly dependent on forest product for survival. That's why they are included in Biosphere Reserve. They are very important and integral part of Biosphere Reserve. Now, let us look at the zones of Biosphere Reserve. Since Biosphere Reserve is a very large area, it has been divided into different zones. Basically, it is divided into three zones. The first zone is core zone, second buffer zone, and third transition zone. So, suppose this is a large area. Is it visible on the screen what I'm drawing?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
Yes, the circle represents a large area. Okay. So in this, the innermost small circle, this is the core zone. And after this, I'm drawing one more circle. This represents the buffer zone. And the last one is the transition zone. So the innermost is core zone, second is buffer zone, and the outermost is the transition zone. Okay, so let us see different characteristics of these zones. In the picture, you can see it clearly, three zones, core zone, buffer zone, and transition zone. Core zone, basically it is the innermost zone, and this zone is strictly devoted to conservation of wildlife, and in this zone, no human activities are allowed. Students, can you state the reasons why no human activities are allowed in core zone?
so that the animals living here are not disturbed.
Yes, very good. Since this zone is strictly devoted to conservation of wildlife and to let them live in harmony and peace in their own area and in their own zone, and make them free from any human disturbance. This zone is strictly devoted to them, and no human activities are allowed in this zone. And since wild animals are more comfortable in their own zone, and sometimes when they see human they also attack, so that's why they are no human activities are allowed in this zone. They are strictly devoted to the conservation of wildlife. Moving on to the next zone. Next zone is the buffer zone. It is the middle zone and it is next to the core zone. In this zone, limited human activities is allowed. So why they decided to allow limited human activities in the buffer zone? Can you think of reasons why?
Ma'am, probably since the tribals are dependent on the forest for their own livelihood, they need to collect some, wood or other things for the sustenance, which is available in this buffer zone.
Yes, very good. Limited human activities allowed in this zone because it is very important for us to know how wild animals live, what kind of food they eat. So for all this activity, for research purpose, for educational purpose, and to know them in their natural habitat, are very little human activities are allowed in this zone. So basically, this zone is for research, environmental education, and for tourism also. Have you ever been to wildlife safari? Anyone?
No.
Yes, ma'am. I have been to a national safari.
Yes. So how did you reach there in the wildlife safari zone? How they actually let people enter in wildlife safari zone?
Usually we take a
Car.
jeep, and there is a guide also who helps us and tells us about the kind of wildlife, the flora and fauna that is found in that
Yes,
particular region.
very good. Yes, very good. Since limited human activity is allowed from a distance, in a car or jeep, we can visit there and we can see wild animals in their natural habitat, but from a distance. We are not allowed to disturb them. So basically, in this zone, a very limited human activities are allowed, basically for tourism, research, and environmental education. Here in the picture, you can see that animals are in their natural habitat. They are roaming and moving here and there, and from a distance, human beings can see them. They can learn about their habitat and how they live in their natural habitat. They can see, but from a distance, and no disturbance to them in their natural habitat. The last zone is the transition zone. So this is the outermost zone, and several human activities are allowed in this zone, such as tribal settlement, cultivation, collecting forest product, etc. So this is the most outermost zone, and in this most of the activities are allowed, especially tribal people settle in this transition zone. So, do you think that if tribals are allowed in this zone, they can do whatever they want and collect whatever products from the forest, and so basically are they given permission to do whatever they want in this zone?
No, ma'am.
No.
No, ma'am.
No. So usually, when we are using any natural resources, what we keep in mind?
Not to exploit the resources.
Yes, very good, Shalini. What we keep in mind that we should not over exploit them. We should always, follow sustainable ways to use them without, exhausting them and without harming our habitat. So, in this zone, several human activities are allowed, but one thing is always kept in mind that no harm is done to the forest or to the wildlife or to the environment. Sustainable development theory is kept in mind while doing the human activities in this zone. Okay, now let us move to next part. So, do you know how many biosphere reserves are there in India? Anyone?
Ma'am, there are 18 biosphere reserves in India.
Yes, very good. There are 18 biosphere reserves in India. Name some biosphere reserve.
Kanchenjunga Reserve, the one at Panna,
Sundarban.
Sundarban.
Okay. Yes, very good. Sundarban. Sundarban is famous for what?
White
Mangrove.
tiger. White tiger. White tiger.
Yes, very good. Sundarban is famous for white tigers. So, in India, there are 18 biosphere reserve, and here is the list of 18. In this slide, I have mentioned 9 biosphere reserve. Nilgiri Biosphere Reserve, which is in Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, and Kerala. It is basically surrounding those three states region. Next is Nanda Devi Biosphere Reserve. It's in Uttarakhand. Norek Biosphere Reserve in Meghalaya. Great Nicobar Biosphere Reserve in Andaman and Nicobar Island. Gulf of Mannar Biosphere Reserve, Tamil Nadu. And this Gulf of Mannar Biosphere Reserve, actually, the half part is in India, that is in Tamil Nadu state, and the half part is in Sri Lanka. Then Manas Biosphere Reserve in Assam, Sundarban Biosphere Reserve in West Bengal, and as you all know, Sundarban Biosphere Reserve is famous for white tigers. Then Simplipal Biosphere Reserve, Orissa, Dibru Saikova Biosphere Reserve, Assam. And here in the next slide, you can see the names of other 9 biosphere reserve. Dehang Dibang Biosphere Reserve in Arunachal Pradesh, Pachmari Biosphere Reserve in Madhya Pradesh, Kanchenjunga Biosphere Reserve in Sikkim, Sechalam Hills Biosphere Reserve in Andhra Pradesh, Agastyamalai Biosphere Reserve in Kerala and Tamil Nadu, and Amarkantak Biosphere Reserve in Madhya Pradesh and Chhattisgarh. It is this biosphere reserve is in in these two states, corners of these two states. It's surrounding these two states. Then it's Kutch in Gujarat, Cold Desert in Himachal Pradesh, and Panna Biosphere Reserve in Madhya Pradesh. So students, in these two slides, did you see I have underlined a few biosphere reserves?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. There are 12 biosphere reserve which I have underlined. So basically, I have underlined these 12 biosphere reserves because these 12 biosphere reserves are also recognized by UNESCO. It has given it has been recognized by UNESCO because these biosphere reserves protect a large number of wildlife. So that's why these 12 biosphere reserves are recognized by UNESCO. Here in this map, you can see the locations of various biosphere reserves in India. Is there any doubt in this, students?
No, ma'am.
No. No,
Okay. Okay, so now let's move to recapitulation, what we studied today. So first we studied what is Biosphere Reserve. So basically, Biosphere Reserve is a large protected area of land meant for conservation of wildlife, biodiversity, and traditional lifestyle of people of tribal people living in that area. Then next we studied that Biosphere Reserve is divided into 3 zones. The outermost zone is core zone, the middle zone is buffer zone, and the the innermost zone is core zone, the middle zone is buffer zone, and the outermost zone is transition zone. So in core zone, it is strictly devoted to the conservation of wildlife. No human activities are allowed in this zone. Then next, in buffer zone, a limited human activities are allowed, and in transition zone, a large number of human activities are allowed, and here tribal settlements are also seen. And at last, we studied that there are 18 biosphere reserves in India. And in this map, you can see the location of different 18 biosphere reserves in India. Okay, students. So now let's move to evaluation. So define biosphere reserve.
it is a reserve which used to protect wildlife, and few activities of tribal settlements are also allowed.
Yes, very good, student. So basically, Biosphere Reserve is a large protected area in in which tribal peoples are allowed, and they are the integral part, and they can also use products in this Biosphere Reserve. So next, explain 3 different zones of Biosphere Reserve.
There are 3 zones: core zone, buffer zone, and transition zone. In core zone, it's strictly devoted to the wildlife, and in buffer zone, there are certain invasion of human activities is allowed, and in the transition zone, they can do their work, but in limited permission, with limited permission.
Okay, very good, Shalini. So, the three zones of Biosphere Reserve are core zone, which is the innermost zone, and in this zone, no human activities are allowed. It is strictly devoted to wildlife. And the next zone to it is the buffer zone, in which a limited human activity is allowed, basically for tourism purpose, for research, for education, etc. And the outermost zone is the transition zone, in which a number of human activities are allowed. Okay, here is the map of India, and in this you have to locate 4 biosphere reserves. So, name one biosphere reserve which you remember from the previous slide.
Sundarban,
Sundarban,
West
West
Bengal.
Bengal.
Yes, very good. So, Sundarban will be here in West Bengal. Okay, next.
Gulf of Mannar, near Tamil
Okay,
Nadu and Sri Lanka.
yes, very good. The Gulf of Mannar will be here in the state of in between the Sri Lanka and Tamil Nadu. Okay, next.
Anna Biosphere,
Yes, and where is it in?
Madhya Pradesh.
Yes, very good. Panna Biosphere Reserve is in Madhya Pradesh. Okay.
The Kanchenjunga Biosphere Reserve in Sikkim.
No, actually, Kanchenjunga Biosphere Reserve is in Assam.
Oh, sorry, ma'am.
Okay, so it will be here. So basically, and one more thing I forgot to tell you in the previous slide, that since Biosphere Reserve is a large protected area, okay, so in a Biosphere Reserve you can see national parks, wildlife sanctuaries. Since it is a very large protected area and a large area is covered, so in those areas some national parks can also come. Wildlife sanctuaries are also there. So sometimes you will see some national parks have the same name as the Biosphere Reserve, and one of the famous and you have also observed this, that most of the Biosphere Reserves are in the state of Madhya Pradesh. Since you know this, that this Madhya Pradesh, it is actually it has dense forest, and it is very rich in wildlife population. So most of the Biosphere Reserves are located in this. So that's all for today. Thank you, students.
Thank you.